Welcome to Barre Chat. That's where it's at.
I'm Lexi.
I'm Bianca.
And I'm Becca.
And we're chatting all things dance.
All right, so today's episode, we are going to be talking about dance competitions. This was a very highly recommended topic because a lot of our listeners are currently in that stage of their life where they're doing a whole bunch of dance competitions, especially like starting young and then having it go on for back-to-back years and back-to-back competitions throughout the years. So we are going to have a whole episode dedicated to dance competitions. So I think you guys are going to like this one.
Yeah, and at least for me, a lot of my content is dance competitions too.
Yeah.
So I feel like when people think of, I feel like all of us, except for Bianca.
All of us except for Bianca.
Let's single her out.
So 2 out of 3.
Yeah, that's like one of the first things I think of because
I do a lot of dance competition
videos.
content too.
I make a lot of dance comp videos.
And what do you do?
Well, let's talk a little bit about the pros and cons of doing dance competitions because if you don't know, I did a lot of dance competitions growing up. Lexi did a good amount as well.
I did too, so I did a lot.
And Bianca did dance comps, but they were ballet competitions, which are very different.
No, I did jump.
Oh,
really?
So she's been to do 2 conventions.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into the pros and cons, we should probably talk about like a quick experience or like a quick summary of like our experiences all with dance competitions.
So at least for me, as you guys know from the first episode, if you're a Barre Chat listener, I started dancing when I was 13 years old and I went to my first dance competition at 14. My dance studio I'm in the dance company or was in the dance company, and my studio does around 2 to 3 dance competitions or maybe 3 to 4 a year. So my first ever dance competition was actually Velocity, my first competition convention, but we are big like Tremaine goers, which is a big dance convention if you don't know what it is. And so that's where like most of my dance competition knowledge comes from, just because that's what like I've done the most. But yeah, so I did that from 14 to 18. And then of course I went off to college, but I still, as we talked about, I think in the last episode, not in the last episode, we actually talked about it on the live last night, so I got a little confused.
Oh, yeah?
But I sometimes will go back and assist the ballet teacher at Tremaine. So
yeah,
I go a lot. So yeah.
That's very cool. Fun fact, Becca and I don't know if we talked about this, but we were at one of the same Tremaines. I think this was...
What?
Did we not tell you this?
No.
We didn't know each other.
We didn't know each other, and I don't even think we saw each other.
Crazy.
Did you compete or no?
Yeah, I competed.
Did you do a solo?
I don't remember.
Because I competed a solo in a small group. So maybe we did compete against each other.
Actually, no, I didn't compete because I graduated.
Oh. Yeah, it was right after, we graduated 2019.
It was summer
that
2019, Tremaine, New York.
Yeah, because I was there taking class and she was there assisting. Isn't that funny?
That just goes to show how small the dance world is.
No,
yeah,
truly.
Like actually,
if somebody like came up to us and was like, "Oh, like you 2 girls are gonna have a podcast in 3 years," I'd be like, "Who is she?"
Exactly.
I don't know who this girl is. That's so weird to think about.
I
I've
know.
never thought about it that way.
Yeah, it's weird.
Crazy, but all right. So my dance competition history, it started a little bit older because I was on the team and like the competition team in my studio, but we were more like performance based as opposed to dance competition based. So a lot of the times we performed at Disney, we performed in New York, like did stuff like that. So I joined my dance competition team when I was like younger, and we did one competition when I was in 4th grade. I did like one hip hop group dance, and then that was it until freshman year of high school. So I had like a big 5-year gap. So like I didn't grow up in the competition world, but I ended my like dance competition era on the older side, if that makes sense. So like I didn't have the opportunity to be like, oh, like the cutesy one. Like you had to have technique by the time I got there because we were like in the older categories. So I did it pretty much all of high school. And once we started, it was like fast paced from there because I was doing like probably 10 dances at a time and like back-to-back competitions. We did like 3 or 4 a year. So once I was in it, but it took a while until I got there. So that's
Once you're in it, you can't escape it. It's like a bubble, the dance comp world, I swear.
Well, it's funny because like usually we take dances that, or at least in my studio, we took dances that we did the year prior and then we bring it to competition the next year. So it's like the recital dances from last year are this year's competition dances and then you add more. So that meant that once I graduated high school, I was still in the competition dances. So freshman year of college, I actually came back and competed. So I was a freshman in college competing at dance competitions. And it's funny because that's when TikTok started to take off. And like, that's when my TikTok specifically started to take off. And people at the dance competition, I remember it was Beyond the Stars and it was 2020. It was a week and a half before everything shut down. So it was like one of the last dance competitions for a while. And my TikTok was going viral. And I think it was because I was like in the area and it was getting sent to like everyone like literally around me at the dance competition. So many people were like, wait, like, are you the girl in that one TikTok video? And I was like, well, yes, I am. Like, this is crazy. Like, because it was like a weird feeling, you know? Yeah. But I'll never forget that because that was very funny. And it made me think like, oh, if I was still in the dance competition world, like, that would be even weirder because then people would be like, oh, like, I'm going to judge her solo because I've seen her on TikTok. And then I'd be like, darn, like, that's so stressful.
Right.
I think before we move on to Bianca's experience, we can kind of give a little for maybe people that don't do dance competitions and conventions. Maybe take this time for a second to kind of explain what that is. Because I remember when I went into it, I was like, what is happening? Where am I? Like, it's definitely a weird environment to walk into. But if you don't know, like, a dance competition it's usually run by a company, let's say Beyond the Stars.
Oh, yeah.
I've never even heard of that.
I've never heard of that either.
Really?
But it's usually run by a company and they host at a theater or in a hotel.
Just a venue that has a performing area
and a carpet,
dressing rooms, and
So you compete your dances, and there's different categories and different awards. Some of the awards are oddly named. You might hear platinum or high gold and different awards like that. Sometimes they do first, second, third, and it's judged. And it's just, there's a lot of categories and it's very confusing if you don't know. But on top of a dance competition, a lot of competitions, when they're touring and going to different cities throughout the year, during the daytime before competition starts, they'll do convention classes, they call it. And it's basically a series of master classes back to back. There's about 3 to 4 to 5 different rooms. You're split up by age, and these master professional dance teachers will come and teach a class to a huge ballroom of kids. And they do different things like scholarship auditions to get scholarships for the convention and different things like that. But I think that's personally my favorite part about dance competitions is the convention, because that's like the learning aspect of it.
Yeah.
But just a little background quickly before we get to Bianca, your extensive background.
This is going to take so long, but the 2 competitions that I did were, first I did YAGP and then I did Jump. And this was in the same year because the studio that I was at did competitions. I wasn't like on the competition team. They just kind of like were like, do you want to come? I was like, yeah, like, sure.
Do you want to come? Or
do you want to come or do you want to stay here?
Or?
And I was like, yeah, like I'll come if I'm invited. So I did YAGP and it was fine. Like I would never do it again. I didn't, for me.
I've done it twice, yeah.
Yeah, but for me, like I'm not a competitive person in that sense. And I don't think that dance and art is something that should be like a competition in my eyes. That's just my perspective. But, and also just not growing up in that scene, I didn't really have something to like bounce off of. Like, yes, I love this. Like, it's so fun. I never had that growing up because I was just doing not that. I wasn't doing competitions. And then I did Jump, and Jump was actually a little bit more fun. We got to do some of the classes. I think I did a wildebeest hip hop, but he's got some things going on in the dance world, so we'll keep that brief.
Yeah.
It popped in my head.
That's funny. I didn't know you did that program.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We did like 4 or 5 classes that day. I forget, but I did a trio with my 2 friends, and then I think we got, I don't know if it's gold. Is that like how
that's
it's
a
ranked?
education award.
It's what?
Okay, so
I don't even know what I got.
So this is actually really funny, and I know that I've made a whole bunch of TikToks about this before. The adjudication awards are different than like the placement awards.
Yeah, I don't.
So adjudication awards, everything sounds good. And it just like, it starts good. So like gold, you would think that gold is good, but gold is
Usually
and
the
not in this way
lowest.
because like it's always changing.
Yeah.
But typically gold, at least now, is the lowest. So like sometimes there's silver.
This
then it
was
goes,
back in like 2013.
yeah. So it was definitely different. But now it's funny because it's like gold, high gold. Sometimes there's double gold. Then there's platinum.
They
then
weren't
there's
even
high
saying
platinum,
that.
double platinum, diamond. And it's like, what? Like, why can't we just do like bronze, silver, gold?
This feels like a pageant.
Like, it's just, yeah, it's getting,
It's weird.
it's so crazy.
I never really went to dance competitions that did that. I think Velocity did that at the time, but
I thought every dance competition did that.
Tremaine has never done that.
Oh, you're right. Tremaine. Yeah, Tremaine.
And
didn't
that's
do
like
that.
the main one I did. So I was always like, what's happening?
But wait
Usually
a second.
it's like competition, not ones that are attached with a convention.
Yeah.
But like dance competitions do that. And then it's also like overalls and like placements, like first, second, third, stuff like that.
Did there used to be bronze and silver?
A while ago,
Because I think that's when that was.
It was probably bronze, silver, gold. So if you got
Yeah.
gold, congratulations.
I don't know what any of it means. I just remember like getting some sort of little thingy medal, and I was like, okay.
Yay.
But
It's
it
funny
was-
now though, because like you could
Yeah.
say gold and people are like amazing, and it's like no, like that's
no,
the worst.
this was like years ago. But I liked doing the dancing, but I just don't like that environment because it just kind of feels just like everybody's competing and like very like toxic in a way, like judging you. I mean, there's judges, but the people around you, the dancers, it just feels very like hostile in my opinion, and like high stress. And I just did not vibe with that energy. I just didn't like it. But maybe if I had started younger, I would have had a different outlook on it. But I don't think it's necessary to a dancer's career or a dancer's training.
Yeah, I definitely
can
agree.
I think now, like, I enjoyed it when I was in it, but now that I'm out of it and only doing like performances because there's really no dance competitions for like after ages 18. But I think I prefer performing because it's like I'm performing for me. But when you're competing to win something and to beat other people. And it's like I just want to perform and be proud of myself and not get
no
scored.
matter what.
True.
No matter what. Because it's like usually, at least when you get like the judges' feedback, because I don't know if you guys are not familiar with dance competitions, usually you'll get like an audio or like a video back with the judges' feedbacks, and they just watch your video and they're like saying things. And that's a whole nother thing, what they say. It's so funny because sometimes they'll give you like very hard feedback. Sometimes they'll give you no feedback. So honestly, it depends when you're performing. Earlier in the day might be better. They might be tired at the end, or vice versa. Like they get more into it and more strict as it goes on. But then sometimes they'll be watching and they go, nice. Good costume.
Wow.
Oh, that was, and it's like, what am I supposed to do with that?
At YAGP, when I went, they were filming the YAGP for some sort of dance series at the time.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Like
the
a TV show?
Yeah.
Wow.
The one time that I went was when they were filming. So they had their select dancers that they were featuring in all the classes on stage, and being part of that, like, I was just like, oh, so this is just all like staged literally. And like, it's
Sounds
just,
like Dance Moms.
it's like, but it wasn't dance. It was like a
Dance Moms
ballet.
for the ballet.
It was like a ballet thing. And they were like, oh, this is Angela. This is whatever. And it's like showcasing each of them. So it just kind of felt like a lot of the teachers' attention was focused on that and not so much like all of the dancers that were there, especially in class. They had the cameras in the classes showing the dancers. And I was just like, oh, like, I don't know. It just didn't feel authentic, and it didn't feel like something that I would ever want to like go back and do.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
so,
just me.
Since you brought up Dance Moms, I don't know if this is like sidetracking, but this might be interesting. People might enjoy this. So I went to a dance competition that the Dance Moms girls were at.
Yeah.
Back in like 2013, 2014. I wasn't dancing. Someone else that I was friends with brought me because I am a huge Dance Moms fan. So they brought me. I got to watch. So we got there. We had to sign a waiver right away because you can't post about anything until the episode airs. You have to be very like hush hush about everything that happened. And I remember like it just made me realize like how fake like the show was.
Oh yeah.
Because everyone, they all did their dances twice. One was to be judged and then one was to be filmed. And then like one time it was, I remember it was Domino Effect. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dance Moms, but like that episode, Abby said something to Kalani where she was like, you can't be in the dance. So the version that was judged, Kalani was in. The version that was aired, she was not in.
Nice.
So it's like what we saw wasn't what they were scored on, and she has beautiful technique. So, you know, like it was just funny because it was not true. And then I remember like waiting outside and like when the buses pull up and they cheer, and instead of them coming in, the camera guy was like, okay guys, like pretend I'm Nia, and we're all like, yay Nia, but like she wasn't there. Like it was just the camera guy. Like it was so funny because I was like, oh my God, like it was a real dance competition, but it was, I don't know, it was just funny.
You're like, where's Nia?
I know, I was like, yay, huh? Like I was so confused, but I just thought that was a little
No, but that's
fun story to add in because it's dance competition related.
And also, like, it's just funny because behind the scenes is not what it looks like when you see the finished product. It's all movie magic, trick of the eye, like just fake stuff.
Yep.
Reality TV is not real.
Yeah. I did get on an episode though. I was in that episode.
Which one?
It's season 5, episode 9.
Slay.
And I'm literally like, Abby's walking down the aisle of the auditorium and you just see me with like my high donut bun. And I think I'm wearing a headband and I'm like, yay. And that was it. But I was in the episode. So I was on Dance Moms.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I cannot. My studio used to in the beginning seasons before I even came to my studio, they were always in those little, the short little segments in between scenes. Like it was the dances would always pop up. Like I'd be watching the show. Like I rewatched it a few years ago and I was like, I was in that dance like the next year. Like that's so weird. I'm like, that's the person. Like that's my friend. It's so weird, but
I know her.
Going back to the competitive nature of dance competitions, I really feel like it didn't really affect me that much. It might have just been that I came from rhythmic gymnastics, which is a competitive sport, and it just only felt normal to be competing because that's what I've always done the same way with Bianca. She's never done that, so that was normal to her. But at least my studio and the people who made our dances and ran my company, they never really cared all that much about getting the award. It was always used as a performance opportunity. Like I feel like it was always said it was a performance opportunity and we wanted to do well and we needed it to be perfect. Not because we needed to win necessarily, but just because you want to put your best out on the floor no matter where you are or what you're doing. So I never really, at least personally for me, felt the pressure, but I think maybe that's just the way it was like taught to me. But definitely, yeah, you're going to be pressure or feel like some sort of competitive nature, at least in my opinion, in like any sort of dancing environment in a way.
Yeah.
But I'm a competitive person, so I really enjoyed doing the competitions and it was nice getting the validation when you won.
No, for sure.
So,
I'm a competitive person too, but I think it made my it really like not lowered my confidence, but just made me 10 times harder on myself because I'm very like self-conscious. And I think it just like really stressed me out a lot more than it should. And I remember like there was one time we did like some lyrical group dance and I don't know if I like fell out of my turn, but it was like something that it felt bigger than it actually was. And my teacher came up to me and she was like, oh, good job. Like how she comes up to us afterwards. And I was like, no, I sucked. And I like walked away from her and I felt so bad. I know. I was like being a little brat. I felt so bad. And like, I hate that. I still think about it. I feel so bad that I did that.
You were a kid.
well,
Yeah, but it was like high school. So it's like,
Oh.
well, that's
so it's like I'm being a brat.
It is hard. So I actually have a little story about that. My second year was my first year having a solo. That year's nationals. Of course, it's nationals, so it is a big deal. You want to win. And I remember I was against some really hard people. I was actually against like my friend in the category, and she was so good. Like she's so good at dancing. So I was like so nervous. And in the first 5 seconds of my solo, I had a needle and I fell out of my needle. But I went from the needle and then like I fell forward. So I like pencheed. And I was crying after. I was so upset. I was like so disappointed in myself. I was so upset. And then like I literally ended up winning the category. Like it didn't matter. So it's just things like that where it's like you're so hard on yourself for what? Because no one knows that it's your fault except for you and your dance teacher, which you will get. Like I would like if we messed up, we would get in trouble, of course. Well, but I didn't get in trouble for messing up my solo though, but like a group dance, yeah. But
You know what's funny? My teacher would bribe us with Wawa. Do you guys know Wawa?
Is
Yeah.
that a food
we don't
place?
really have that around
Really?
here.
No, I've
there
never-
is one over by my place, but
There is.
Do you know what?
yeah, because I was on
Sheetz is?
Postmates.
I know of it, but it's not here either.
Oh, really?
Sheets?
I don't know what Sheets is either, but I always hear about it.
I've
and
only
it's, like,
heard of it
similar
on
to Wawa.
TikTok.
Oh,
I've never heard of
okay,
that
but
in
you've
my
heard
life.
of Wawa, and you know that
Yes.
it's
I've
like
heard
a,
of Sheets more than
It's like
Wawa.
fast food.
It's like a fast food where you go in like a little computer and
It's
order like a
like-
sandwich. They're good.
I feel
But-
like it's comfort food. It's a comfort food.
Yeah,
place.
it's really good. And so my teacher would always bribe us, and she'd be like, "All right, guys, like if you get like platinum or if you get diamond with our hip hop dance, I'm getting you guys all Wawa, and we'll have Wawa Wednesdays." So we wanted to win, not to win, but to get hoagies. That is literally why. And so I remember
That sounds like dancers.
it was so funny because like every time we would place or we would get whatever like she told us to get, we would always be texting her, "We got Wawa!" Like we were so happy, and we're like taking pictures. We're like, "Wawa Wednesday!" Like this is amazing. Like we were so happy. Like who like did not care about what we won. We cared that we were getting a free hoagie. Like that's all we cared about. It was so funny.
That's
we were so
iconic.
happy. It was so great. And like I got
Food would
my,
bribe me too.
No, literally, it was so funny. Ugh.
Speaking of dance competitions as well, do you guys have any
No.
like horror stories of like dance comps or things that happened, things that went wrong, and like anything like that?
I did have this one contemporary dance where there was 8 of us or 7 of us, and one of the girls in it didn't show up day of. I'm like just remembering this now. Like something happened. I don't know if like she got sick or something, but like
Wow, that happens to you a lot. People
Yeah.
just don't show up.
I didn't like I block out so much of this in my head,
It's
and then
trauma.
like now it's just like as we talk about it, I guess it just brings it back. But yeah, we
Yeah.
had to literally like reblock the whole dance before, and it was weird because like there was another dance that right before us, I guess the same thing happened to them, and they made an announcement saying like, "Oh, just letting you know, like we are missing one dancer, blah blah blah." And I remember saying to our dance teacher, we were all like, "Oh, do we want to do that?" And my dance teacher was like, "Why? Like why do we want to win just by saying, oh, like someone's missing? Like let's win and do well because we are great." And we did really well with it. Like I don't remember what we placed or what we scored, but like it was a great dance and we did really well. And she was right. Like I'm proud that we didn't need to be like, we're missing someone, so give us a good score. Like we were missing someone and we still did amazing, and we didn't have to tell them.
Yeah.
We just showed them. You know,
Yeah.
like
Oh
it
my
was
gosh, yeah.
yeah, it was cool.
Can I
So-
touch on something?
Yeah.
Dance competitions themselves are one thing, but then I feel like there's also dance competition studios that are heavy on the competition.
mhm.
So as somebody who didn't grow up doing dance competitions, I can always tell who is a competition dancer when I
Yes.
look at them.
Yeah.
If I'm teaching a class and I'm just looking around the room, typically I can say, oh, yep, that's a competition studio dancer, because they always drill the turns and the certain technique, and they don't always focus on ballet a lot.
That's
which,
so true.
Which
It's
is
a
not like,
certain personality too.
yeah, but it's not like
It's a
ballet
personality,
is
yeah.
what
Yeah.
you need. It's just like I can see where the training is and how there's just a certain look. So when I went to college, a lot of the dancers there came from competition studios. And also a lot of them got scholarships from conventions.
Right.
Because my college
yeah.
was a big competition
I see
scholarship
it
thing.
all the
Yeah.
time.
So they go to all the competitions and they scout people there. I did not get into the college by that. I went and auditioned at the school. But
You seeked it out.
yeah, it's in my city. So it was
Yeah.
like my backyard. But a lot of them were competition dancers. And I was just like, oh, like I can totally tell. And it's not a bad thing. It's just something that's like apples and oranges. Like you can seriously just tell.
Like the way you can find a ballerina in a room as
Yeah,
well.
apparently. So it's just interesting because I think their technique is very like rigid and controlled and grounded a lot of the time. Like they're always good at turns, or they're always really strong with the tricks. Like people from competition studios, they have to have like at least an aerial or at least 5 pirouettes. Like, you know, like because
Bare
that's
minimum.
what they look for with the competitions. That's how you place high. And I was always just like, I am so like, I'm like a little outsider in this way. Like I don't have much experience in that world, but sometimes I wish I did, because I just think like I wish I could do like 12 pirouettes in a row on like
Don't we all though?
like on a bad day and on
I
both
did
sides.
competitions and I can't.
But you also started later. But also every studio is different with their training.
Yeah,
but like
I'm
the
not
broad
like a
scheme.
comp kid.
Yeah.
In the comp, if I walked into the comp world, like in my period of being a comp dancer, I wasn't a comp kid. I wasn't. But like from the outside perspective, everyone's like, "You're a comp kid," and I make so many TikToks about it. But really, like I didn't
feel the same
really
way.
do that.
Like I don't think of myself as like a competition kid just because I started like later in high school, and then like when we started, the whole team started. So it's like there were first and second and third graders doing their solos, and it's like my first solo, I was a sophomore in high school, which is okay.
Yeah.
But like it was just like I was watching them grow up on it, but I just didn't feel like I grew up on it. I feel like I ended with it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Can I also say that ballet competitions are so different than all the other competitions? Like you did YAGP twice, right?
Twice, yeah.
How was that? What cities?
It was, so I did New York the first time.
Finals?
No,
okay.
It was, I think, the only year, maybe they start doing it now, but at the time it was the first year they've ever done it in New York.
I did Huntington Beach.
And it was so scary because so many amazing ballerinas are in New York.
Yeah.
And like, it was just a really weird environment. Like at one point there was one of the male, there was like a really big ballet studio. I don't even remember. Actually, I do know the name, but, they're like famous for being, they're famous for being like really good, like over on the East Coast. And there's like of course a male ballet teacher, and he would come into the dressing room, and my mom would be in the dressing room with me because like I don't have my ballet teacher with me in New York City. No, it's my mom, and she'd never danced, so she doesn't know anything.
She didn't?
No.
Oh, wow.
She just lives vicariously through me.
Okay.
Your mom gives dance mom vibes though.
Because she just wished she danced.
Okay.
But anyways, they're spending a lot of time with my mom this week, so
yeah.
she's
the best.
She's big topic.
Did either of your parents ever perform or anything?
In the arts?
No, my mom always wanted to.
Yours
but like,
did, right? Wasn't your mom a dancer?
her dad's a musician.
My dad's a musician, but my mom was a nurse. She wasn't into the arts.
I thought she was a dancer. That's
No,
so funny.
I am literally the first dancer in my family that I know of, but now I have younger cousins that dance. But
Gotcha.
I was like the trailblazer. So
Well,
Yeah,
I was
no
telling
one in
them
my
yesterday,
family.
both my parents are like theater parents, but my
Yeah.
mom did do dance for like a couple years. She
Wow.
started after college though, but she did do like adult classes and stuff.
wow.
Yeah.
It is interesting because some people's parents are their dance teachers. Some people's parents
Yeah.
dance before. I wish, like, my mom did
That's
amazing
gonna be us
things
as moms,
and
though.
everything. But like, I'm
We're
so
the cool
excited to
dance
like,
moms.
exactly. I'd be such a good dance mom because I would know what to do with
You're
my
already
daughter.
wearing the
And when to
tracksuit.
stop.
You're ready.
I know.
When to stop and not like go over the edge and like
Yeah.
stress them out.
We just know a lot. Wait, I actually have a question.
Okay.
Are you gonna make your kids dance? Is that the question?
I was gonna ask, would you let your kids dance?
I would absolutely let them do
Yeah.
any hobby that they want, but if they don't like it, I'm not going to force them.
That's my thing too. Like I'm putting
Yeah.
them in dance until they tell me
yeah.
they don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And then that's it. But I'm gonna keep dancing.
But it's a great
I don't
recreational
necessarily
activity.
know if I want my kids to dance.
But it's a great activity regardless whether they take it seriously or not in their developmental years as a kid for being with other
Discipline.
kids.
yeah,
Discipline.
just being in a classroom setting too.
It's great.
Dance training is
Learning
like
a
training.
skill.
Yeah.
No, it's great because I feel like almost every kid has taken dance. You know, like I feel like
Yeah.
that's a majority thing where it's
Yeah.
like most kids, because when you're 2 years old, you can't really be like, I would like to go bowling. Like you can't really
I
choose that.
know.
So parents are like, all right, like I'm gonna put them in dance
Yeah.
for maybe a year or two. Like I feel like everyone that I know has said to me,
Yeah.
oh, I took ballet when I was like 3 years old.
That is
Yeah.
the first thing that everyone says when I used to.
When you say
I'm
you're a dancer. Yep.
Oh, I used to do dance when
I
I,
know.
was 3 years old. Okay.
And then you're like, really? And they're like, well, it wasn't that good. I'm like, okay.
They're like, quit after
you're
2 weeks.
Yeah, you're probably better. Like, I didn't have good feet. Like, they always go on and on. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny.
I think like with the kid thing, it's just whatever your kids are gravitated towards and what they have interest in, just keep them doing that. But there's nothing wrong with like throwing them into a couple dance classes just to see.
Exactly.
Maybe they actually love it. Maybe it runs in the blood and you just,
I mean, I feel like that's what happened to me. Like I got put in dance because it was just something to do, and then I really enjoyed it, and I stayed with it, and now it's cost my family a fortune,
A lot of money.
and they're like, "Why
That's for
did I
another
do
person.
that?" Because
Yeah.
like once you get into it, it starts to add up. You know, like it's
Yeah.
an expensive hobby. So
it is.
very
Point
grateful.
shoes. Point shoes alone.
well, that was a sidetrack.
Yeah.
But speaking of, I was telling the story just so we don't get thrown off because everyone's probably a little confused right now. I was talking about the ballet competition where there was
yeah.
a studio and there was a male ballet teacher, and he kept coming into the like girls' dressing room to like talk to his girls because they were warming up, like whatever. My mom was like, "Get out! Like this is creepy."
Yeah.
Like I just feel like there was a lot of that going on. There was like a lot of weird environment, a lot of weird energy going on there. And I don't know anything about that world really because I wasn't in the ballet world. I was kind of just like an outsider who was like, I want to do YGP. And yeah, it was interesting. And
But
then I
it's
did
very
it again
different.
the next year in LA.
It's a very different energy. I think like the other competitions like jump that I went to and stuff like that, it's more fun.
Yeah.
And it's more uplifting and
Yeah.
like high energy because it's different styles of dance.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're very different. And YGP just really keeps that stereotype of like ballet.
Yeah.
Like it's ballet. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's also great, especially for people who are in the ballet world. You get into companies, people get in.
Yep.
People get
Or
amazing
summer intensive
opportunities.
Yeah.
scholarships.
Yeah,
all of that.
it is if you're a ballerina. For me, I was a comp
For me.
kid who just really trained heavily in ballet and wanted the experience. So
Yeah,
I
as
guess
you
it was
should.
great experience. And I have a cute little tutu, and now I can give it to my daughter.
And all
Aw.
the pictures and memories too.
Yeah, memories.
Well, those
That's
are the
cute.
priceless moments. I think it's nice.
Well,
to
it's
Yeah.
not priceless.
No, but now,
Those are the
I mean, it was
priced
an
moments.
investment. Yeah.
It probably was very expensive to do it.
The
Pay
but
the
financial
price
moments.
for the priceless memories.
truly.
Yeah.
Peter
Well,
Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
going back to dance competitions, I did want to say, I
Well,
think
we were talking about dance competition.
no. I like dance competitions and like the judging part of it.
Yeah.
I never really cared what I placed or what I scored, but I did care about the special judges awards for some
Yeah,
reason.
those were
Those were
definitely
so
special.
fun because it was like
Special.
an individual thing that they were like, oh, like they stood out and they did this and I'm going to give it an award. And I think almost all my solos like always got special judges awards. And like, it was such a fun
That's
thing.
actually really cool.
I know.
Yeah.
Like a lot of my dance group, like we just got a lot of special judges awards. I don't know.
So what's your favorite one you've ever gotten?
Oh, it
Go.
was Commit to the Bit was one of them. They're funky names. Like
Are they always the same names?
no, but it's so random. We did this 80s jazz dance and we got Clumptastic
Stop.
because we did this big, it was like a big pyramid clump and like one by one we added on like a ripple, whatever.
Please.
And they were like, "Oh my god, Clumptastic." It was so funny.
I
Like
really
we were all
don't like that.
What?
I didn't really go to a lot of competitions
It
like
was
that.
just so funny. Like I didn't, yeah. But the Commit to the Bit one that I got was my favorite, just because it was my favorite solo that I've done.
Yeah.
And it was like I love intense, scary numbers. Those are like my absolute favorite because it's like there's so much acting. So it was like I was like sleeping and then I got possessed and then I was possessed and then the ghost comes out of me at the end and I like scream. I don't know. It was something very fun and dark and that's what I love. And so I got Commit to the Bit and it was fun.
That's actually hilarious.
Yeah.
That's like an Abby Lee Miller type of like
I know,
storyline.
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
It's
I
giving
think
dance moms.
full
No,
commitment.
you know what made me want to do a solo like that? It was Maddie's Lizzie Borden dance with the axe.
Yeah.
Because I remember
I know
saying to
that
my
one.
teacher, I was like, "Can I use an axe?" And she was like, "No." And I was like, "Okay, well, this is good too." But I just wanted
This'll
like
work.
I just kept saying, I was like, I want to die. I want to like get possessed. I want it to be dark. I want it to be scary. Dying in dances are my absolute favorite thing. I've
never died in a dance.
Really? Dying
No.
or killing people. We just did with my dance company at school. We did a Squid Games dance and we all like one by one died. And that was fun.
Oh God.
I love dying in dances because it's like acting. It's so fun.
Anyways, I have a funny story with
So I
a
guess
special.
you guys can't relate to the dying
Nope.
thing. Okay, that's fair.
Well,
But
I have a funny story with the Special Judges Award. My studio did a remake of a dance from the Alvin Ailey company.
Which
it was
one?
from Revelations.
I did that in high school.
Yeah, so it was the opening of Revelations. Yes,
Yeah, of
exactly.
course.
So we would have the little kids do it,
Mm-hmm.
and so we competed it, and we called it Ailey. That was the name of it. Yeah, this one.
that's
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
and we
that
called
dance.
it Ailey. And at a dance competition, we got most unique choreography, or like best choreography.
Did they know though that it was?
I don't know, but it was awarded to the person who set the dance.
Credits to
And
Haley.
literally, that's the most competition dance thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, they're like not even aware.
No, they probably have no idea.
That's so embarrassing for
They
them.
were like, this is so unique and different.
They're
I haven't
like,
seen
wow.
anything like it.
Eileen, like
yeah, it's concert dance. It's
Elite.
not like this. Diamonds are a girl's best friend.
that was
Well,
that
that's
was our
another
next
thing.
dance.
Competition dance is so different than like
Yeah.
performance dancing.
It's a
especially
lot of
in college.
acting and attitude stuff, like
Yeah.
and props and like all of that kind of.
And there are some songs that are just so competition, like Burlesque, huge competition song. All That Jazz. I did that as a solo.
Come
like,
on, babe.
It's such a
Thank you.
competition song. There's so many ones. I don't know.
Well,
What's another one? Like, there's just so many songs that are like,
Diamonds are a girl's best friend.
No,
Yep.
but like unsteady. If we're talking about contemporary,
Yeah.
piece by piece.
Ugh.
The amount of piece
Jar
by
of
piece
Hearts.
songs.
Yeah.
Piece by piece.
Yep. What else?
So good.
There's just like so many
The
dances.
Chain by Ingrid Michaelson.
That's an old one. That's an old
But
one.
that's always still
Yes.
like, it doesn't leave.
How many dances have you learned
There's
from that
so
song?
many.
Oh
I
my
did a lot of those in
gosh.
middle school.
It's so funny. Like, I love seeing those TikToks and it's like overused dance competition songs or like,
Yep.
or it's like duet this if you've done a dance competition song to it, and usually you've done all of them.
It's so true,
Like, it's
though.
so funny. It's so true. It's so funny.
And that's why we love it. And that's what I love about dance competitions. It's just this little community, and you bring other people in your life into it, like your brother and your dad or your friend, and they're like, what is happening? And it's just this fun little world that you can kind of like escape to, and just like have just so much
Yeah.
so
Have in
many
your pocket.
inside jokes. Yeah, it's just our little like dance competition world. It sometimes is terrible and is so stressful and this and that, but sometimes it's just so fun to look back on. And now that I'm past and in college, I'll look back on my dance competition world and my dance competition years, and a lot of my friends in college didn't do those. So like I'll be telling my like best friend in college, and she'll be like, what? Like,
It's just
what
a
is
different
happening?
breed of people. Like, it's a different
Yeah.
world that
No
you
one
just,
understands.
You just can't understand unless you've been a part of it.
Literally, because
It's
I
so
don't
crazy.
know most of the terminology. But like you said, there's a lot of downsides. And
Oh,
like,
yeah.
as there is in everything. But there's so many good opportunities that can come from it, like the scholarships and the apprenticeships and all of those things. To college, to companies. So
Yeah. So I think we have a lot more to talk about in this subject, and we didn't even touch on the convention world. But I think that about wraps up this episode. And
for competitions.
for dance competitions, we all actually hope you enjoyed. Not just me.
The
Hope you
majority of us
enjoyed
that
this
have done
episode.
competitions.
Especially me.
Well, we all hope you enjoyed this episode, and I guess we'll see you in 2 weeks for our next episode.
Yes.
Bye.